Good morning, everyone. This is Michael from the Temple of Silence here in Finland. And for me, it's the morning, and for some of you, it may be the middle of the night. I appreciate your being here very much. It takes sacrifice to make some of these meditative moments, and we do try to alternate, between morning and evening times to give everybody a fair opportunity to be with us at an hour which is more convenient. We're meditating this morning on the reappearance of the Christ, and we'll continue our work discussing a little bit the teachings of the Christ. It's really the most important thing that's happening on our planet that's not realized. People with their concrete minds are always imagining some kind of termination rather than the ongoingness of infinite reality. They see the Christ coming as the termination of life on earth as we know it, and looking at things in an exclusive manner. They tend to leave just the majority of people who have never heard of the Christ in previous times, let us say, and even now, they leave them in a position of exclusion and a very unfavorable condition in relation to the so-called hell world, which lasts forever. And this is a merciful, all-merciful God which has arranged this purely on the question of whether through an emotional decision you decide to believe. Well, obviously it represents a kind of deep misunderstanding of the nature of reality, and that's why it's so important that a truer image of the Christ. I don't know that we'll ever at our stage have an absolutely true image, but a truer image of the Christ must appear, and of his hierarchy, his ashram, so to speak, and of the inner organization or organism with which we as aspiring disciples and aspirants seek to become associated. Now, let's take a look here. We're continuing our work and we're trying to emerge out of selfishness. This is taken from the book, The Reappearance of the Christ, right around page 71, 72. Yes, it says, under the divine will, he had to appear on earth in visible presence. You kind of wonder whether that decision in the Garden of Gethsemane had something to do with accepting a 5,000-year term as the Bodhisattva and appearing on earth in presence. I tend to think that it did. He will come and he will reveal the nature of the will of God. His mission is much broader than it was before. And he will be surrounded by that great triangle of the avatar of synthesis, the spirit of peace, both of them extraplanetary beings, and the Buddha, his brother. We tend to understand things in terms of our selfish will, and selflessness is hard for us to manage, but eventually we tend in that direction. And then the will be interpreted in terms of the hierarchical plan, and the effort of the individual man becomes that of negating his original self-will. How well are we doing with this? It's so easy to fall into the self-will, the personal will, the little will. But when we can negate that will in favor of the divine will, seeking to merge our will with that of the group being itself an aspect of the hierarchical effort. And this will be a great step onward in orientation, and will lead eventually to a change in consciousness. And this is what we deeply hope for all of humanity, or at least as much of humanity as is capable at this stage of development, of making that kind of change. Not all will be, and yet there will be an initiation of the human race, a leavening of the mass, an upliftment, and the fifth kingdom of nature, the kingdom of souls, will be ever closer to humanity, and humanity to it. And people like ourselves, let's say, we study earnestly, we meditate as deeply as we can, and we try to serve as best we may. We are anticipating and passing through even this change of consciousness. So DK says, it is at this stage that most aspirants find themselves today. Most aspirants today find themselves. Let's see if I thought was, yeah. Let me just kind of mark that so I know where I've begun, more or less. However, the will is in reality something very different to these expressions of it which exist in the human consciousness as men attempt to interpret the divine will in terms of their present point in evolution. I mean, we hardly know what the presented attribute of love really is, and the Christ presented it in no uncertain terms some 2,000 years ago. For us, a new divine aspect, the search for light and the invocation of light has been with us a long time, but now comes the necessity with the emerging of the planetary second-ray soul that love will begin to make its presence felt. And then what about the will? This is still more remote yet, but I have felt that the word willingness goes a long way to explain what should be our attitude towards the divine will. The clue to understanding, says the Tibetan, is to be found in the words blotting out all form. Now, that's a very interesting term, and if you go to the Rays and the Initiations Rule 9, you will see this this word used, the blotting out of all form. Let's see if I can bring us there just quickly. let's see, around page, right in there. Yes, let the group know there are no other selves. Let the group know there is no color, only light. And then let darkness take the place of light, hiding all difference, blotting out all form. Then at the place of tension and at that darkest point, let the group see a point of clear cold fire. And in the fire, right at its very heart, let the one initiator appear, whose star shone forth when first the door was passed, blotting out all form. When the lure of substance is overcome, and desire dies, at least desire for the lower things, because it is a great cosmic principle, then the attractive power of the soul becomes dominant, and the emphasis so long laid upon individual form and individual living and activity, and that's millions of years, gives place to group form and group purpose. Then the attractive power of the hierarchy and of the masters' groups of disciples supersedes the lower attractions and the lesser focal points of interest. When these then assume their rightful place in consciousness, then the dynamic pull of the will aspect of divinity can be felt. So, the consciousness first of the group must develop, and the closer we move towards the appreciation of oneness, the closer we come to the dynamic pull of the divine will. Then the dynamic pull of the will aspect of divinity can be felt, entirely unrelated to form or forms, or to the group or groups, or a group. Now, that is quite a statement, because we normally think of the will in terms of advancing the progress of a form or a group, and yet it is an abstracted factor. And what is it said? That God is no respecter of persons. It seems like a hard saying, but of course we're saying that the inner man is so much more important than the outer instrument, if we could really develop that orientation. In the light of the will of God, Christ made certain basic decisions and determined to carry them out in the relatively immediate future. The exact date of his coming being known only to him and a few of his senior workers, I would imagine, like Master Kudhumi and so forth. Yet all of these future events lie hid in a certain fundamental decision of humanity itself. This decision is being arrived at through certain new trends in human thinking, and will be the result of a subjective human reaction to the decision already arrived at by the Christ and the spiritual hierarchy, the church invisible. There's an example of how we interpret differently conventional terms like Christ and his church, which is usually given such a material interpretation. So the Christ's decision is somehow invoking and evoking our own, and we human beings, we have to make certain determinations as well. And you know, the Christ is limited to a degree by the decisions that we as humanity make, because he dares not subject the world to the kind of energy which he is unless preparation has been done, or it could be a deeply unbalancing event. It will cause it will cause quite a disturbance in the minds and hearts of many who conceive him in a more conventional manner. The motivation for this reappearance is complete and settled. It is clearly perceived by the Christ. The work initiated by him 2,000 years ago must be completed. And that was 3 years of external work, and now we're dealing with an entire age, the age of Aquarius. The new world religion, at which we disciples receive, let's say, a few hints, regarding which we receive a few hints. The new world religion must be inaugurated. The needs of a demanding, invocative humanity cannot be ignored. Those steps which precede a stupendous hierarchical initiation in which the Christ is the leading participant must be taken. Now that's a new angle on things. That hierarchy itself as a group is about to take a stupendous initiation, and the Christ is the leading participant. The events which are symptomatic of the time of the end of an old order, let us say, the end of the Piscean age, the end of certain very obstructive limitations. This type of end is approaching, and no final end of the earth, which after all is a vital chakra in the economy, in the life, in the solar system of the solar logos. Now, I think that's as far as it's necessary to go right now, and when I take this up again, probably next week, on the 1st of October. Okay, so resuming. 1 October 20. Okay. This is a wonderful little book, and every page is revelatory with respect to what the Christ really is. This is a book that has to be read by so many of those who are pursuing one or other of the Abrahamic religions. Somehow it will bring to those with a reasonably open mind a great, much greater clarity to the situation, and that clarity is really needed if we are to avoid very foolish self-fulfilling prophecies regarding war and annihilation of unbelievers and the condemnation to a fictitious hell and so forth. These things are to be these things are to be understood. Okay. Yeah, just I've received a note in the middle of everything here that Tuya is up there at the Little Bear Meditation Center, and somehow a link is not working for her. So I'm going to do my best to send a link for this to her, and because I always appreciate it when she can join us in the midst of many other duties. Okay. Now, friends, let's get into the meditation. And the way to do this, I think, is the following. Okay. We'll begin by breathing in the white light. This is explained so well in the Treatise on White Magic. It is a purifying method, brings in the purifying light of the soul. We can work with white light, we can work with different colors, we can work with the light orange, which is the basic color of the egoic lotus, but here we're going to breathe in the white light. And we see our co-disciples in that light. And we realize a great light is underlying all human progress, making the work of the men and women of goodwill possible. And when there is more goodwill, the Christ will be evoked, because peace will come, sharing will supervene, and corruption will be eliminated. We achieve our positive and intended personality quietness, and we answer in the light of the soul, each in his own words, the following questions. The first: as a member of the new group of world servers, what is my specific fixed intention at this moment of dedicated contact with my soul? Question 2: is my concentrated and expressed personality purpose in line with hierarchical intention, as far as I am permitted to know it. Number 3, have I in my own personal daily life earned the right, because of definite effort and not so much because of success, to stand with those servers who are now undertaking the work of preparation? So this is, the Tibet tells us, the one time in the meditation where we think of ourselves, and it is here because it is a method of personality-focused attention and aligns our personality upon the mental plane. Now, having answered these questions in the light of the soul, we say with emphasis this powerful mantram, forgetting the things which lie behind, I will strive towards my higher spiritual possibilities. I dedicate myself anew to the service of the Coming One, and will do all I can to prepare men's minds and hearts for that event. I have no other life intention. We can tell that this powerful mantram is really, as they say, separating the sheep from the goats. Now we visualize the world situation as best we can each of us in terms of our major world interests, and with what knowledge of world affairs you may possess. See the mass of men everywhere glowing with a dim light. And here and there, points of brighter light where members of the new group of world servers and men of spiritual intention and of loving hearts are working for their fellow men. And then visualize through the creative imagination the vivid light of the hierarchy streaming towards humanity and slowly merging with the light which is already in the human race. And then we say the first stanza of the great invocation, from the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. And then we ponder on the reappearance of the Christ. This great reality which is presently occurring, though so many do not suspect that it is. And we realize that no matter by what name he may be called in all the many world religions, he is still the same great identity. we reflect and we speculate upon the possible results of his appearance. And the question arises for us, since the Christ himself is ready and anxious publicly to appear to his loved humanity, for what period of time must we endure, struggle, and fight? So that this great event may be inaugurated and persist during the Aquarian Age. And the reply comes, and we're familiar with it, when a measure of peace has been restored, when the principle of sharing is at least in process of controlling economic affairs, and when the churches and political groups have begun to clean house, then he will come, and then the kingdom of God will be publicly recognized and will no longer be a thing of dreams and of wishful thinking and of orthodox hope. And to all this we can contribute. And then we say the second stanza. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. We endeavor to concentrate our fixed intention to serve and to spread love in our surroundings. And we realize that insofar as we can do these things, we are attempting to blend our personal will with the divine will. However small and insignificant we may think ourselves to be, we can make a difference, a valuable difference. And now we say the third stanza. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. I think as we concentrate on the divine will, what the plan may be will become clearer and clearer in our consciousness. More of the details of the plan and how we can help will emerge for us. So every week we think, what can I do practically in the coming week to further the preparations for the coming of the Christ? Each of us will have a different angle on this, I think, but a great educational effort is needed and is underway by the hierarchy, and especially working through the second ray ashram. So what really is our part? Let us then respond to the vibration of the Christ and commit ourselves in His name. We have gathered in your name, Lord Maitreya. Be with us. And we know that the more we try to help solve the problems of humanity, the closer we are to the Christ. He takes notice. Now, we will sound the Om 3 times, dedicating the threefold personality to the work of the reappearance. Thank you for your participation. Tonight we'll have the work with what monadic consciousness may be. And that is this tremendous power to identify with all things. Naught is but me. And we will close with a song from the Reappearance of the Christ that speaks about the kind of battle that may probably will eventuate when the Christ emerges, and how the forces of materialism may work against him. He will need, out in the field, such as we are, the presence of those who understand, who can explain who he really is, who can interpret. He will need these things, and he will prevail, but not as the all-powerful conqueror, but as the Lord of love, the Lord of loving will. And this is the third of the songs from the Reappearance of the Christ Oratorio.
Every eye shall see him. And when he comes, every eye shall see him. Before the eyes of all he shall stand. For the world has become so small that he shall be seen by all. Every eye shall see him, and the forces of hate shall gather. The evil one shall gather to oppose, to obstruct, to destroy, and the power of hate shall rise against him. 9 heads, 9 heads, 9 heads shall rise in all their fury, their fury, their fury, fury, fury. Intent upon unholiness, intent upon unholiness. Dark power shall rise against him. Dark power shall rise against him. And he, the Lord of love, and he, the Lord of love. Shout this verse, shout this verse.